One of the most inspiring business achievements of the 20th century in India is certainly the story of Reliance. Behind the success stands a triumvirate, known as the Ambani legend. I feel proud to have a rendezvous tonight with the youngest of this distinguished trinity, Anil Ambani. Anil, it is such an honor to have you on my show.
Pleasure is all mine. Simi, this is my first interview and maybe my last.
No, don't say that. But I'm honored you've given it to me.
My pleasure.
The Ambani success story has become part of modern Indian folklore. What would you say was the genesis of the Ambani dream?
I think the beginning of the Ambani dream was an individual called Dhirubhai. He's the fountainhead of this great dream, great vision.
But where did his dream begin?
I think his dream began when he went overseas to Aden, was working as a petrol pump attendant, and then grew up through the ranks. This was in the 50s. At that stage, I think that there was a spark in his mind of saying, you know, I want to do something for India when I go back, and maybe I want to be in the oil business, building India's largest refinery.
For somebody who started out as a gas attendant, it's quite an outrageous dream, isn't it?
Yes, I think that clearly nobody would believe in the 50s and the 60s. If somebody met my father and spoke about his vision, people will basically say he's a daydreamer.
Today, you are among the wealthiest families in India with assets in billions. But when you were born in 1959, what was life like then?
Oh, in 1959, my father had just returned back from Aden. He had made his few thousands, which are equivalent to a few lakhs today. We were a family of 6. My grandmother was still alive. And it was the 7 of us who were living in a chawl in a backward area of Bombay called Kabutar Khana. And it used to be a huge chawl called the Jahind estate. We used to live on the 4th floor. It was a 1-bedroom, hall, kitchen, everything combined, no attached toilets, nothing, common toilet for, maybe 100 occupants on the same floor. It was in that sort of an environment that we grew up, and we didn't have, lots of clothes between the brothers, so we used to share each other's clothes every other alternate day.
Like
he would wear a brown trouser one day, I would wear the black trouser the other day, and then we would swap trousers and shirts and whatever else. I've heard of brothers sharing cricket bats but not sharing clothes. So it was clearly a extremely modest beginning.
But I find the most inspiring stories often have the most simple beginnings, don't they? Do you ever go back there?
Yeah, I've been there several times. The chawl system still exists, and it's very, very emotional when you go there and look at from where you've come.
It must feel like a pichla janam in a way.
And I think it's been a great journey for my father to be where he is today. I may be an MBA from the Wharton School, but I'm never ever going to learn what I learned in those years, where for most of my school career, most of my college career in the city of Bombay, I was commuting by bus. So it's a very, very different type of experience.
So did your father have time for family life?
Absolutely. Weekends were reserved for family life. Either we would go to a hockey match or a football match. We used to be eating either on the street, having a bhel on the street, or having South Indian food in an ODP restaurant. I think that he enjoyed that type of food, and I'm a great junk food eater even today.
Your friends say that you go back to that same pav bhaji wala even today.
I think that the pav bhaji wala is a living dinosaur in my memory. And I think that I still religiously go and eat there, and he still makes the best pav bhaji. Yeah.
It's the childhood memories, you see. It's that whole taste and sense of smell and all. It takes you back to your childhood.
Also, some of those outings were very incentive-oriented outings, which would really mean that, fine, if you can walk this 10-kilometer stretch in the monsoon, at the end of it, I can buy you 2 snacks or 1 drink, or give you a box of mangoes to eat, etc. So he believed in incentivizing us to saying, at the end of the rainbow there is a pot of gold. So why don't you work towards it? So he's always looked at it as some sort of a reward system, because he thinks that people need motivation.
And he still does that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he still does that. He does that with his grandchildren, whereby he says, look, if you go from Bombay to some other part of India by train, 2nd class or 3rd class, whatever else it is, at the end of it, I'll send you my limousine to pick you back from the station or stuff like that. But basically to give them that exposure, that experience, which I have been through, but naturally our children, who are now born into much higher levels of luxury, will not have the opportunity to do it.
But Anil, you don't like being called a successor.
I think that considering that both Mukesh and I have been involved in the process of building Reliance from when we were 15 and 17 years old respectively, and then when I was in college I spent half my time at work.
Oh, I see.
And clearly this is not something that we have just inherited. We just didn't walk into an office one day and sit in a big room and said, we are managing directors of this company. We've been partners in progress, partners with my father in building the Reliance dream.
So then you went off to Wharton to do your MBA in marketing. What did Wharton give you?
I think that what the Wharton School really gave to me as an individual was the ability to think multidimensionally, to have interaction with a very large international class. I thought it was a huge exercise in boosting your self-confidence.
Because otherwise, I can't think of a better teacher than Dhirubhai Ambani.
I think this was part of his education process. On one of his trips to the US, it was my father, mother and I who went on a drive from New York City to Niagara Falls. And we were returning. Halfway through, we stopped at a petrol pump. And I got down to get some water. When I came back, the door was locked. So I knocked on the door and said, now let me in. I need to ride with you. And he just pulled down the window and said, absolutely not. Here is $10. Now we will see you in New York City. I was 15 years old, in the middle of nowhere, and said, okay, we'll see you. And my mother was crying and said, no, how can we leave you alone, etc. And in about 2 or 3 days' time, I reached New York City.
What are you saying?
On my own with $10, hitchhiking and doing whatever else I needed to really do. And when I reached the hotel, the only question he asked me saying, I'm happy you have the self-confidence to do this on your own.
You don't have a 100-year family history like the Tatas and Birlas.
I think that on one scale, we are very, very fortunate that we don't have a 100-year history because we don't have lots of baggage with us. But I recall my father always mentioning to me that he's the founder member of the Zero Club, which means he came with zero.
And the amazing thing is that this year your turnover and assets will overtake that of the Tatas. What would you say is the secret, the secret of success of the Ambani dream?
I would say number 1, 2 and 3 is hard work.
Hard work, Anil.
Number 4, I would say, would be trust. And number 5, I would say that is the whole spirit of wealth creation and sharing of wealth.
Now, why I say this? Because, Everybody. I mean, everybody will be watching this program. They all say, look, I work hard. I mean, I work even harder than they do. And I trust people, and I try and share my wealth. But there has to be something more to have been such an extraordinary climb from the Zero Club in this span of a quarter of a century.
Yeah, I think that a number of researchers have been working over the last 15, 20 years to find out, the recipe of success for Reliance. I don't think that anybody's discovered it, and as soon as I find that somebody's discovered it, I'll let you know.
Okay, I'll be waiting.
Reliance has not invented anything new. Let's take the stock market, let's take shareholders. They were all existent. They still exist. So clearly Reliance is a story not of invention but of innovation.
Overachievers tend to experience feelings of persecution. Your father has said that people were not my enemies. My success is my worst enemy. It created intense envy. What did he mean?
No, I think it's the conventional Indian crab theory, which most people are familiar with, so I won't get into it. But performance, achievement really bring very little admiration in India and more jealousy in India.
I'm taking you back. Vimal and Reliance had just become household names. It was a Sunday afternoon on the 6th of February 1986. The family was watching a cricket match on television when your father Dhirubhai had a stroke. You were 27? What were your feelings then?
I was at that stage the only person in front of my dad, and he just mentioned to me that he's having he just can't move himself, and he's having a headache. And I thought it must be a usual spasm or whatever else, and quickly I discovered that he had suffered a stroke. It was a huge big shock for us because my father has been a great believer in fitness and in health. So one was a feeling of dismay for himself, to saying that after whatever he did, if this could happen to him, it could happen to anybody else. Second, at really the company level, it was like shouldering a huge amount of responsibility in which he would not be available for guiding us in the enterprise of Reliance. And clearly what was a shock for us was used as an opportunity by admirers of Reliance. That's how my father fondly refers to everybody who is jealous of Reliance, and used that opportunity to go for us. And I think the 80s, I would say the 86-90 period, or the period post his stroke, was a great trying time for both Mukesh and me. And with the grace of God, we passed through that period and emerged even on a much stronger footing.
Anil, if I were to ask you to assess your own best ability, your own particular forte, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think that when I was filling my application forms for the Wharton Business School, and they had a question, what are your key strengths and weaknesses?
Yes.
Your question sounds similar.
I'd love to know.
I said that my biggest weakness is that I trust people, and sometimes that trust is not reciprocated, and that makes you feel bad.
But you are a precision planner, aren't you?
Yes, precision planner means I like to see everything in like a clockwork work, and the precision planning was extended by my family even to my own wedding, where when I got engaged and the wedding was in the offing in the next few months, my entire family went for an annual holiday. They left me behind and said, well, now you plan, because it's your marriage. You just tell us what time, when, where are we supposed to show up, and we'll show up.
Be there.
So they believed in my planning, and I think I delivered on that.
You calculated that it would take exactly 279 steps for a guest to walk from the car to the desk and thus avoid a queue.
No, I think that planning is an integral part of my thinking process. I rarely make decisions which are unplanned to the best of my ability. Not that you can plan everything.
Another business person told me that there is Anil Ambani sitting and discussing $1 billion deal, and he is conscious.
Which one?
And he's conscious that that guy hasn't had his kulfi. So in the middle of his discussion, he says, "Uska kulfi nahi aaya."
I think that my mother is a great hostess.
Yeah.
and maybe I've got those values from her. Whenever we go on holidays, whether it's a family holiday or it's a holiday of friends, I'm like charge the affairs, trying to organize everybody at the cost of missing some of the fun. But I think most people would look at me and saying, fine, if you have organized it, we have nothing to worry about. So that feels good.
You also have this obsession for information.
No, I think that information is power, clearly. I differentiate dramatically between somebody coming up to me and saying, I think I know this, and saying, I'm certain I know this. There's a big difference between I think and I know.
People have said that if you're like an encyclopedia, and you can tell them whether they want to know what's on the internet, which is the correct website, whether you want to know the price of a particular fruit, or whether you want to know what's going on at this moment in Beijing.
No, that's stretching it a bit too much in terms of a knowledge base, but I would say that what is apparently common information is really uncommon, and maybe that's what I possess.
Since the early 90s, you and Mukesh have been the main decision makers. How do you both operate?
My father is still very much the visionary, the guiding light for both of us. I think just the two of us are leaders of the teams of people who work for Reliance, and we effectively work as co-CEOs in the corporate terminology. But to put it very simplistically, I think that we work as maybe two bodies, one mind.
So are the responsibilities separated?
No, I think that we do not have any responsibilities that are split, but we have leadership areas based on what really our skills and our strengths are. Since Mukesh is a chemical engineer, he takes technical lead decisions. Maybe I take finance-oriented decisions or marketing-oriented decisions. But these are again really more goal-setting, policy issues.
Do you ever have differences?
I think that differences are a must, because that is the only way to make good decisions. You've got to have what we refer to internally as constructive tension, not destructive tension. So we have differing views between my father, Mukesh, and me, on a number of occasions. At the end of it, once we sit together as a team and decide, we don't really reflect back and look upon whose decision did we choose. We then just go for the results.
Sons of successful fathers usually have a very easygoing attitude, but you guys work 12 hours a day. With the kind of bank balance that you have, how do you motivate yourself to slog from morning to night?
I think that bank balances have been non-issues for many years for both of us. We don't think that it's that incremental amount that we are working for. I think it is really the purpose and the creation of a world-class enterprise, I should say.
Does making money excite you?
I think it's a very good byproduct. I think that it's not the prime motivating force, no.
Because you know what it's like to have been poor. Has that influenced you today in your attitude towards money?
I differentiate between money and wealth. Wealth is something that will last you and give you longevity, give you comfort of life. I think money can come and go. And as a banker told me that wealth whispers and money shouts.
Tell me, did success change family life?
I think that it does cut into the amount of time that you want to spend with the family. But maybe the motivation and the inspiration that you get from achievements overshadows some of that loss. But we're still very closely knit. We all live together in the same building. We have our dinners and lunches together. We meet on Sundays as a family together.
So do you spend a lot of time talking to your father?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I believe he's fierce about old loyalties.
Yeah, I think that whether he's an old broker friend or he was an old employee, he would get to meet him. My father would stand up and put his hands around him, and if that individual asks for anything,
he'd get it.
My father's just not going to say no.
Really?
At some times, we would put that restraint on him to, try to separate out, the need and the greed part of it. But he would have implicit trust and faith in individuals and saying, so what if, it's going down the big black hole, let it go down.
Having a hero as a father is a great privilege, Anil. How does he respond to your success and your achievements?
Oh, he's very, very proud of us, and he's very, very delighted at whatever our achievements are.
What does he say?
He always looks at us and says, I always knew that you guys can do it. And of course he chuckles and says, hey, it's part of my own upbringing for you guys, so that I've invested in both of you to whatever you are today. And he says, look, our targets are still far away from where we really want to be, and there are, miles to go before you sleep.
Today, Reliance is ranked among the top 50 companies in the globe. Your father's dream, a gas attendant's dream of building a refinery, has become a reality. People who've been to Jamnagar say, forget Asia, there's nothing like this in the world.
I think that Jamnagar is really the pinnacle of our achievement in whatever we've done. The complex is as large as going from the Taj Hotel in Bombay to the airport. So it's spread over a very vast area. What we have created at Jamnagar is not only India's largest, but it's the world's largest refinery project. It's really a great sense of pride and a great sense of achievement for my father.
This really is the Indian dream, isn't it, Anil? And to think it took only 25 years and a father and 2 sons to achieve it.
I would say that it took millions of shareholders, investors, the very, very dedicated 18,000 plus employees of Reliance.
Tell me, can't you feel complacent now? Abhi kar liya hai.
No, I think that it's the spirit of adventure. I think it's the spirit of trying to do things that most people think that cannot be done.
So no complacency yet for the Ambanis?
Not as yet.
Till 1991, you were India's most eligible bachelor.
I don't know.
Your family was besieged by proposals from big business houses, but you kept turning them away. How did you do that?
By just simply standing by what I believed in.
What qualities were you looking for from the person who would become your wife?
I think that naturally the first quality I would look for, that she'd had to love me and I'd have to love her. It has to be mutual. Clearly, my family was extremely important to me, and the ability to merge within our families. And I don't think that being a Gujarati made too much headlines in terms of whether that's very material. And last but not the least, I thought a clear understanding that I, Anil Ambani, is first married to Reliance and second married to that individual.
You didn't believe in an arranged marriage?
I think marriages are made in heaven, so they are arranged by God in any case. My brother's marriage is an arranged marriage. And if that's the way I was going to be destined to get married, that's the way I would have got married. My destiny was different.
Which was?
Which was, here is the person who I love, who I care for. This is the individual I want to get married to. And I'm going to stick by this commitment in terms of my mental makeup. My destiny was different.